at the expanding light, because we have people coming from all over the world. We have people come from many paths, and we want to hold our center, being disciples and devotees, and have a clear understanding that these teachings are our path, but at the same time have no judgment on people who may come from other paths and may simply be looking for some kind of support for their spiritual life or their higher aspirations. And in doing that, we form a kind of a community. A community, I've always thought of a community a little bit like a target for archery. You know, there's the center of the target, and that's for people who live in a community or actively participate in a community of relatively close-knit people. Then there's a group, then there's a ring outside of that represents kind of the ring of people who are regular participants, but that's all they can do is participate. Either they don't have the time or interest, or they for whatever the reasons, they can't do more than that. And then outside of that is a bigger ring of people who may just be mildly interested and are checking it out for kind of curiosity's sake. But that community is made up of kind of a spectrum of how deeply interested and deeply committed people are. And our job really is to try to be a friend and a supporter to everyone who is interested and everyone who connects with us. So creating a sense of friendship, support, and community is almost, I would say, the core of how to do a center or a meditation group.
Thank you, Jyotish. I'll say a few words and then we'll invite you to ask questions on the chat box. But, you know, many of you were able to attend the centennial, which took place a few weeks ago. And it was quite an extraordinary celebration of community, worldwide community, global community. And there were people from, I believe, 29 different countries were here. And if you haven't had a chance to watch different recordings of it, classes and concerts and kirtans, we really encourage you to do so. It's all free online. But the overwhelming feeling that I experienced, and in talking to others, many others did, was the shared vision of Master's path, of Swami's leadership and guidance, and how this is creating a movement, not just separate little communities or centers, but a global movement that is really going to make a huge impact on the world. And I think this centennial celebration for Swami's 100th anniversary of his birth really will be a turning point for Ananda getting a sense of self-purpose. And so all of us who are part of this, we had meditation groups from about 15 different countries as well. So it was a very broad base. But we need to understand that even though you may feel, well, it's me and my meditation group of 10 people or 12 people, or me and my center of 20, 40 people, we're part of a movement. We're part of a greater reality. And this is Master's mission. We're representing Master's mission. And so we have to do everything we can to be in tune ourselves personally, which means having the best sadhana we can do, and to keep trying with that, keep trying to deepen your attunement, read the teachings, listen to the talks, practice meditation, and so your own personal attunement, and then what you offer at the center, it needs to be a reflection because people will come from many different backgrounds with many different interests. And without being rigid and rule bound, we have a dharma responsibility to represent Ananda's music, Ananda's master's techniques and spiritual practices. And this is really what will give your center strength. You are not doing it alone. You are doing it as a representative of Master, of Swami. And if the more you can tune into that, the greater the magnetism and power your group will have. And the more people will be helped spiritually, because that's really the point of it all, to show people how they individually can deepen their life in God, according to Master's path. There are obviously many paths that people can follow. But what we have to offer is the particular gifts that we have been, spiritual gifts that we have been given and trained in. And so it's like a delicate balance. It's, as Jyotish was saying, it's creating a sense of community, creating a sense of welcoming, of respect and appreciation for every single person who walks in the door, but at the same time saying, this is who we are. And I know in the beginning of Ananda, in the early 1970s, when Swami was just getting started here, it was not easy because Ananda was not defined yet. And people would come and they would want to do things this way or follow these teachings and, introduce this practice or whatever. And Swami, it was such a marvelous example because he never ever said, don't you think I should know better? I'm a direct disciple of Master. You've been on the path for 2 weeks. He never said that, but he used the power of his own attunement to draw people and to keep the right ones. Those who wanted to do it different didn't end up staying. And, maybe they found a different path. That's fine. I hope they did. But the point is that really what we have to share and why we've incarnated is to do a deep dive in Master's path. And then to the extent we can share that with others, then we are enhancing our own spiritual life. I read recently a quote, and I'll end with this, and then you can please do type in questions. Master said, when we offer our love and divine friendship to others, we allow God's love to flow through us and we become a channel. But when we judge others or have critical thoughts about them or reject them, we ourselves cut ourselves off from that flow of divine love and we distance ourselves from God. That's a very important thing to remember. And so broadening it out a little bit to leading a group, when we offer a place, a mindset, a support for people to follow this path and learn the techniques, we deepen our own attunement. And to the extent that we let it become diluted, okay, well, maybe we'll do it that way. Maybe you have a good idea how to change our teachings. Then we create a barrier or a distance, let's say, between ourselves and our attunement with the Guru. So it's a wonderful opportunity and a great blessing. And we thank each one of you for doing your best to support and create a group. And in this troubled world, having little centers of light is, I think, more important than is evident. But, it can be 10 people in a whole city, but those 10 people focused on a true guru and God have more power to help than thousands of people kind of running around lost in the world of delusion. So our prayers are with all of you and our deep appreciation and support for what you're doing. So now, please.
Or Mayatri, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I will just say that people can type in questions, but also because some people maybe on phones it's a little harder and all that. Uh, if you can figure out how to either raise this hand or the little hand in the Zoom, we'll get to you too. So, and then you can ask it directly if that's okay with you guys. So, anybody want to put their questions in the chat and
Hi, Mary.
Okay, she's asking, for those of you who aren't on a chat box, can you please give an example of deep dive into Master's teachings? Well, I'll give you a very pertinent and personal example. Every night before we go to bed, Devi and I read from Master's lectures. They're available in the books that SRF publishes. We also read from Swami's writings, either the path and some of the other writings. But if you have a regular practice of studying a little bit at a time of Master's words or Master's teachings, that will start a process of attunement that is incredibly valuable. We found such great help from it. It begins to, create a kind of an aura in which you don't want to move very far out of that bubble of attunement with their thoughts, with their vibration. What Devi was referring to was probably from something she read before going to sleep last night or a few nights ago. But I would highly recommend that as one of the best ways we've found. Obviously, listening to talks and listening to Master's voice helps. Anything that we do to keep drawing our attention back to the living example that Master and Swamiji have given us will help us dive deeper into these teachings.
And of course, meditation is really the key to it all, because the more you're able to put in good time in meditation, and for those of you who are Kriyabans, in the latest Kriyaban newsletter that Devi Leela puts out, there was a passage from Swami in which he says, be sure after you finish your practice of Kriya, to leave time to sit in the silence, because that's when intuition develops. And how often, I know I do this myself, if I have a certain amount of time to meditate, I'll let my mind wander for a certain part at the beginning, then I'll do Kriya, and then I realize I don't have a lot of time left. But I'm trying to do Kriya earlier on in my meditation time to make sure I have time at the end to sit quietly and try to feel stillness and Master's presence. So studying the teachings and really having your Kriyas checked, call up Devi Leela at the Kriya Sangha, have your Kriyas checked. But a lot of it, and I'll close with this because God bless you, you're submitting questions. So much of attunement is intention. If you really are trying, however inadequate you may feel your efforts are, you will find over time that you are changed, and the things that used to plague you just seem like floating away, just mist. So anyway, those are some thoughts. Now there's some more questions. Jennifer or Shayla.
says, can you please share an example of creative, uplifting community projects you have participated in that inspire community involvement? Probably the most common one, and we do this all around the world, is to, one, celebrate particular holidays. So it could be Christmas time, it could be Master's birthday, any of the holidays, and to do some that allows a couple of things. One, it allows us to reach out more broadly, even maybe to put up some posters or something like that. And then the other thing that it does is it creates a whole bunch of things that need to be done. Maybe food needs to be prepared, and decoration needs to be done. And pretty soon you have a group of people all working together to create, with a focus, to create a very nice event for whoever will come. In India, we have found that doing, and we also have done this in Southern California, to do a half day or a day long event, call it a Yogananda Fest or something like that, also gives an opportunity for many people to participate and for a lot of energy. But the great advantage is not the event itself. It is the kind of matrix of opportunity for people to work together, because that lifts everybody to a higher energy state. And if you do that 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, it will really help build the magnetism of your group.
And one other thing, we've said this often before, but to give people in your group, your regular members and your new people, give everybody a little area of responsibility. And it makes them feel like this is theirs, they belong. Swami was a master of this. He would, one of my fun memories of time with him is when he was packing to go on a big trip. And very often he would sit in a chair in the middle of the room and he'd have these big open suitcases and he'd have 10 of us running around putting things in the suitcase. You get this and you get this and don't forget this. And I don't think he really needed all those things, but it was just like this wonderful fest of putting things in a suitcase. So, but giving people things to do. And one last thought is it's also nice, because most of you are based in urban centers, to find things you can do to support your community, your greater community. You know, maybe it's visiting a children's hospital and singing songs. Maybe it's going to a assisted living facility, whatever, food drives, whatever it might be, but to do things that serve your greater community as well. Okay, there's a couple of technical questions.
Yeah, Sean has asked about Zoom. So maybe Mayatri, after the session is over, you can help with the technical aspects of where to get the chants, how to play them, and so
Sure.
on.
Yeah. And let's, there are some in the chat, but there are also a few raised hands. Let's go to one raised hand. That's Sam Barone in Monterey.
Oh,
Hi,
Sam, I was going to say hi to you. How are you? You're still muted, Sam.
There I am. I'm trying desperately to unmute myself. Hello, my dear friends.
Hello,
And
how are
hello
you
to-
doing, Sam?
How am I doing? I am doing wonderfully. I have great moments of sadness, but more moments of pure joy. More moments of pure joy. And I leave all of my joy and all of the goodness to everything that I've learned from Ananda. It has been, without these teachings, I'd probably be a basket case whimpering in the corner going, Pam, where are you? But I want to talk about things that happened, particularly with me while Pam and I were going through this transition We lived these teachings. We let them, we didn't, we didn't hold back in the environment that we were in. We were disciples. And we practiced what we preach. And the number of people that came up to us, especially more myself, because Pam really couldn't speak much anymore, they would come up to me and they say, how do I get what you two have? And it was a very simple answer. I says, first get your computer and go to ananda.org and start reading and start finding out when there's somebody close by to you that you can practice with. And trust me when I say this, that without the teachings, without the community, although our community is spread out way far, without those communities, I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I could have made it through all of this. It has been joyous. And I always keep a box of tissues close by. I never know when something's going to happen. My sweet daughter, our sweet daughter, gave me a little amulet that I put a little bit of Pam's ashes in. And it's here with my heart. And thank you. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you for the caring. God, Christ, Guru. That's all you got to say. And if you could say it, if you could sing it, and it's a chant that I do often, God, Christ, Guru, and Swamiji. I heard the voice of Jesus say that chant that we do sometimes. I hear the voice of Babaji. I hear the voice of Lahiri Mashai. I hear the voice of Sri Yukteswar. I hear the voice of Master. But I've added, hear the voice of Swamiji. I've added that to the chant so that I encompass our whole family, all of the teachings. God bless you all. Every one of you, no matter where you are in this world, whatever you're doing, practice the teachings and don't hold back. Don't be shy when somebody says, I want what you got. Share it. And share it all.
Thank you, Sam.
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. You know, Sam has touched on something very personal. What we saw worldwide during COVID, how incredibly helpful it was to have both the teachings and a community that provided a kind of a safety net for emotional hard times, financial hard times, any kind of hard times. You know that the world is going to challenge us. We're going to go through things that are difficult, but having each other and having a center that can be there for people when they're going through hard times is an incredible service to the world. So thank you, Sam, for kicking that off.
Okay, should we do another question from somebody waving their hand, or we have more on?
Why don't we go to Kendra, and then there's a question in the chat from Frank we'll go to.
Okay. Kendra, where are you?
She was just next to us, but anyway, Kendra, you're on.
She know how to mute herself. I'll try to find her here again.
Oh, we're looking.
There she is. Let's see.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, and thanks for coming to the Centennial. It was so wonderful to see you there.
Oh, it was so wonderful to get to be there with you and everybody. It was just life-changing. Well, so thank you for having this session for us to get together. I wanted to, first, I'm Kendra from Chicago. For anyone who doesn't know me, very nice to see you all here. I wanted to ask, we're a group that is continuing to form. We've been practicing together for about a year and a half now. And I wanted to ask the question, when people come and they're sort of checking us out and dabbling and enjoying being together, but then they don't come back for some time. What do you say to do there? Because we love making new friends and we love, welcoming folks from different paths with open arms. But I miss people when they don't come back. So what would you say?
Well, there's two things you can do. Many of you know Nayaswami, Ananta, and Maria. They live at the village now, but they lived in the Sacramento community and led it for many years. And they would call on the phone everybody in their Sangha at least once a year. They would just, how are you? And not pressure, not, well, we haven't seen you, but just, how are you doing? Everything going okay? Any way I can help? So don't be afraid to reach out to people. When Jyotish and I did many years ago, Swami asked us to start a center in San Francisco, and we canceled more classes than we gave because nobody showed up.
Oh, no.
But we just kept giving them and giving them. And sometimes, people, they get distracted and they may have the intention to come regularly, but then, as they say, life implodes on them, life intervenes. And so to reach out to people, and, sometimes we had the experience in San Francisco. One man came once and he said, I have been looking for this all my life. I can't tell you what this means to me. I've been looking for a spiritual path. I've been looking for like-minded people. Thank you, thank you. We never saw him again.
Oh, no.
We saw him one time, but
walking down the street.
Walking down the street, he was walking toward us, and then at a distance he crossed over, so he didn't have to confront us. But anyway, life intervenes.
So all that to say is, give people support, reach out to them, and, just be their friend. And, however you can do it, but don't be shy.
Yeah.
And don't think like you did something wrong if people don't show up again. The more your group coalesces and forms its own magnetic core, the more people will stay with it.
Right. Ananta and Maria, when they were leading Sacramento, they called everybody on their list twice a year. And they didn't say, where are you? Why haven't you come? They just called them and asked them how they were doing. And that constant reaching out as a friend allowed people both the space to be themselves, but the connection, the bridge, to come as often as they were able to. So, as Devi said, don't be shy, reach out to people, but don't have expectations that they're going to be able to focus their lives. Most people can.
And Maitri suggested the question from Frank, but there was another question. It's a little bit earlier on about how to reach people where they are. And, from Anaya, that's a good question. It's sort of like what we have is an offering, and we give as much as people are interested or willing to receive. And if they, kind of say, okay, I'm done at this point, and maybe you don't see them again. Maybe they say, I'm done at this point, and then they integrate it and assimilate it, and then they're ready to go a little bit deeper. But it's mainly we're just offering without any sense of expectation on our part of what we want them to do or how we want them to follow through. And it also surprises us. I know we get feedback from the online teachers, Jatinder and Sagar, that somebody will start, say, a how to meditate courses, and maybe they'll do part of them and then they stop. And then they'll come back and they say, I'm so sorry. My life was under so much pressure. I couldn't finish it that time, but I do want to finish it. And so, you just work with people where they are. And then the thing of a guru is also not everybody's willing to accept that. People have said to us, well, I'm really interested in Kriya, but I don't want a guru. And, that's a common thing. And so we just have to kind of throw out a line and see who takes the bait and what they do with it.
One way that I would highly suggest to form a kind of group cohesion is always meditate together at some point in whatever evening or whatever gathering you have. And it would be a very good idea to do a guided Hong Saw meditation for people, because that introduces them in a very universal way to our teachings. Every path virtually of meditation uses focusing on the breath in some way. It's a foundational thing. And so if people have a little exposure to meditation from another path, they've probably had some technique that focuses on observing the breath. So lead a Hong Saw guided meditation, followed by a period of focusing at the spiritual eye and trying to let the consciousness expand. You can easily get some guided meditations that can help you if you feel a need to it. But that will get the vibration set for our path. And then you can have a discussion, and it doesn't have to be discipleship focused. It can just be about how to deepen or uplift your consciousness. Okay.
So why did you suggest this question from Frank?
I'll read it and then expand a little. He said, I just finished listening to the Heart of Service, Jyotish. You can can you expound on how Ananda do the annual planning like you had mentioned in the beginning? Everyone is encouraged to put out any ideas into a sticky note without any judgment. Then you group them, then filter them down even more. How do you prioritize them or even drop them? And how do you handle conflicts if there are disagreements within the group? I'll give a very brief description of this because not all of you are being quite so proactive in reading the Heart of Service or listening to it. So we'll give you a little pass on that for the moment. But he's referring to a process that we did to organize the Sangha office for many years. We would have a gathering and we would give everyone yellow sticky notes. And we started the meeting by having everybody write down every idea that they could think of for how, and in your case, for the meditation group or for the center, you'd have them write down every idea that you could think of for the next year of what you could do. And then when people had written them down, they go up and they post them on the wall, and no selling the idea and no criticizing the idea. Only if they need to explain it do they give a very brief explanation of what they need. Then you do a second round of that because seeing those will kick off other ideas. So then you end up essentially with everybody in the group feeling like they have had a chance to express all their creative ideas. And then you categorize them. There might be things, physical space, there might be meditation meetings, whatever it is, the logical categories will come. Now we have AI tools that can help categorize things for you and put them up on a screen. And then you prioritize. Very easy way to prioritize. Let's say there are 10 suggestions about what you should do during your weekly gathering. So everybody gets a little sticky round thing that you close envelopes with, and they get to go up and vote for their top 3. And so soon everybody votes, and you just count them up. Out of the 10, one's going to have eight votes for it, and another one is only going to have 1 vote. So the one with 8 is the highest priority. And you just do that, and then the group feels that they all together have looked at the ideas for the coming year. They've seen what is for the group important for everyone. And if people have disagreements with that, you can say simply, well, this is the way the group feels. Let's go with how the energy is flowing. And it was very, very effective in helping us organize. We did that for many years until we were organized well enough so we didn't need to do it. We still have annual meetings where people can offer ideas.
So I won't add to that, but I just want to comment. Evie posted, once I facilitated an event and no one came. While cleaning up and putting the chairs away, I found rose petals on the chair. Master was there. Well, we can't tell you how many times we've had it. You try and nobody comes. Once we were, some of you may have heard this story. We were helping Swami. He'd been invited to speak in Paris. We were living in Assisi at the time, and we went up to help him. And it was very poorly publicized and organized, and Swami wasn't feeling well. He had the flu and a slight fever. And so the event started. Nobody came. Finally, one man walked in the door, and that was all. And we said to Swami, look, Swami, you don't feel well. You've got a fever. Why don't you go back to your room, your hotel, and we'll just talk with this man. And he said, oh, no. He said he came here to talk with me. And I'm
going to hear me talk about Master.
Yeah, to hear me talk about Master. And he sat and he talked with him for an hour. And then finally the man got up and left, and Swami went back and rested. But it was such a beautiful example of just giving and giving. And whether people respond or not, it doesn't matter. You just give what you can. Okay, so
we have a hand up. Jyoti has a question.
Okay, where is Jyoti? There she is. Okay.
We'll
now you're
highlight her
muted,
here,
Jyoti.
too.
There. Nope. You're still muted.
Jyoti, can you unmute yourself?
We're working on it on this end too, but haven't been able to.
Should be down in the lower left, a little microphone.
Is this better?
Yeah, good. Mm-hmm.
I think she has 2 computers on as part
Yeah,
of.
you have 2 computers going now, and you're muted on both. Maybe we should move on while Jyoti figures out how to.
Yeah.
Or you
or
could
just
put
type it in
chat.
on.
Yeah, you could put.
But wait, I think you have it now.
Oh.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to turn off the other one. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. So good to see you, Jyotish and Devi. It's a joy. Maitri, great seeing you also. And I was going to share when Kendra was saying, no one shows up. What do you do? I want to say that I was teaching yoga classes at the Dallas Center when I was in Dallas. By the way, I have moved to North Carolina now, and sadly, there is no community here. So maybe it's Yogananda's sign for me to start something. But anyway, when I was teaching yoga classes in Dallas and Maitri in Supriya and all that, because there were already some classes in place, and I had just got certified in Pune, India. When I came back, I was all excited and pumped up some classes. So they gave me a slot on one of the days when there wasn't a yoga class by Supriya. And I started teaching that. Few people came at first and they loved the class. They enjoyed how I taught it and everything. But then slowly, it started becoming a no-show. Uh, so it was a little disappointing, but I just kept showing up anyway at that time. And one time I had this one lady come in, and I usually started, I'm not so great at the harmonium, but I would start with a little chant while I waited for people to come in, because sometimes people were late. So I just did my best. I would start with a chant, and that particular day I was just playing joy, joy, joy. And this lady walked in, and she came and she sat down, and she was the only one, and I continued with my chant for a little bit, and she was almost in tears, and she said, my husband's name is Joy. And she said, I wanted to come to this, and I had never seen this group here before. I've lived here for so long. And she said, I got my autobiography of a yogi from a conference where Musk was distributing autobiography of a yogi at his conference. And she said it was just touching, and I've been wanting to, start going deeper into this. And then I suddenly found this yesterday, and I came in today. But am I the only one here? And I said, yes. Maybe it was meant to be. And we talked and talked. We skipped all of the yoga and meditation and everything, and we just talked for so long. She had so much to talk about, her journey, her spiritual journey, and she was just immensely grateful that I was still there. Even though there was no one in the room, she was 10 minutes late and I was still there. She thought, she was walking into a big gathering and she was really late, but she was so joyful, and she came few times after that, and then life got busy with her because she was the founder of iCode, if you all know about that place. Has anyone? So she was teaching coding, and she was the founder, and she had a chain of this place called iCode. But anyways, she was very joyful, and she was so grateful. So just a message for Kendra and anyone out there: if you're doing this, like Swami Kriyananda did that in Paris, just do it, and know that you are doing your part, whether one person shows or it's a crowd. It's the same.
Yeah, miracles happen on an individual
Bowing
basis.
out.
Yeah.
Hang on, just a second. I can't hear you. I need to increase the volume so I can hear what you're saying.
Just miracles happen individually like that. Thanks for sharing. Let's go to Kyle. Again, you're muted, Kyle.
Hi, Jyotish and Devi. Thank you so much for this opportunity to spend time with you. I just wanted to add, sometimes we just have to hold the space. You know, I work in a hospital and I've been leading a 15-minute meditation for years now, and some weeks there's 6 people and some weeks nobody shows up, but regardless, I show up and I meditate. And I've taught so many people, staff and families, Hong Sa, we've done healing prayers. And I've run into people afterwards who tell me that even if they can't make that meditation, they'll go to the chapel by themselves now and practice. So I think it's really just the vibration that we create in a space. So even if it's one person and if there's no one, you still stay and you do the practice to create that vibration.
Very good point. You know, we keep planting seeds and they don't seem to grow. And then a rain comes and all of a sudden they sprout out. So,
You know,
the right conditions.
this thought just occurred to me. We'll be flying to Italy in less than a month for programs there. We'll have the Centennial there, and then we'll go on to India. But in the San Francisco airport, in some of the passages to the different gates, they have kind of these things projected from lights down on the walkway, sister cities, you know, like, and it's kind of amazing, like San Francisco sister city is Assisi, Italy, but all over the world, there's sister cities. And it might be really interesting, this is more for Maitri in your organization, to create sister centers so that groups can support each other and not necessarily near to each other, but just to, you know, however it might unfold, but just to feel like, you know, connectedness. And then maybe there's little pods of centers that form. I don't know, but just to start feeling that you're part of, you're connected with the Ananda centers in some way or other. That might be fun.
Oh, nice idea.
Yeah, I really like that. And I have been thinking a lot about how we can, you know, connect in different ways. I know in Dallas, we have sort of, the center is sort of taken under their wing, you know, to the extent that the other meditation groups are receptive, Houston and Austin. And I know Kyle and Kelly up in Rhode Island, they've done a great job of taking the Northeast corridor, sort of keeping them under it. But, you know, I like that idea of really very specifically, maybe we can create that. During the pandemic, Dallas and Monterey Bay were very close, and we shared a lot. So it's a good idea. Any kind of connection, support, it seems so helpful.
Yeah. Pradnya has asked, is giving some light snack like cookies or fruits is needed to give after Sunday meditation? The advantage of it is that it gives people a chance to stick around and mingle. And in India, people will come just for the snacks, but at least generally in America, it'll be more an excuse for people to stay around and just to feel like we're a little family together. And many times, deeper connections happen afterwards while you're sitting there with a plate full of fruit and talking to each other than when you're giving the Sunday service. So I would say if the space allows it, and if it works, it's a very nice thing to do.
And it's also a good thing to remember, we were talking about giving people things to do. Have somebody be in charge of the snacks after your gathering, and maybe it becomes a potluck. But again, involve people, involvement, make them feel like they have something to do.
Yeah, Kevin said, we've been for a few months now having copies of Lessons in Meditation and Devashi's Kriya Yoga book available for newcomers to take for free. Very nice idea. Even having some copies of Autobiography of a Yogi would be nice. And not much of an investment for you, a huge gift for a person that it may plant the first seeds for the rest of their life.
Another thing you can do if money is tight, you can work with Dharma Devi and Narayana at Crystal Clarity and just hand out, like we did at the Centennial, little cards that have a scan for a QR code for the ebook or audiobook. No, and that doesn't cost anything. Really. No.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, the groups and centers do get 40% off the books they order through Crystal Clarity. That's one of the things that they've put out to us, which is great. But I like that QR code thing too for the ebook. That could be a really good alternative.
You know, I'm going to do a little bit of self-promotion here. The book that we worked on, Divine Awakening, someone recently said to me, I wish I had read that book when I first came on the path, because it really helped me to see where Ananda, its purpose in the middle of Master's mission. So it's also available in ebook and audiobook. So that's a good thing for new people to see as well.
We know a man in India who always travels with 5 copies of Autobiography of a Yogi with him. And anybody that comes up to him that shows any interest at all gets a free autobiography. He's given away a couple of hundred by now.
Kyle posted a nice thing. It's like potluck is like loaves and the fishes. There's always enough for everybody.
Yeah,
It's so true.
and it creates family, exactly.
And Shirley mentioned that the app for the AY that's free
Right.
that you can get as well. So
Yes, right.
well, let's see if there's maybe one more quick question, and then we should probably wrap this up. And we're so grateful that you've taken this time. Looks like Pradnya has another question. We could ask that. How do we help those who come to meditate and have Kriya from another path, like Lahiri's disciple?
I would say work with Deva Lila. It can get a little bit complex according to how they've learned their Kriya and who they've learned it from. Some have learned basically the same Kriya that we have on our path, and others have learned quite a different Kriya altogether. And so when we work with people who've been introduced to Kriya from other paths, we really have to talk with them and find out what their practice is now. And if it's very different from ours and they want ours, then we ask them to basically take the training that is needed to get them ready for our Kriya. Others have Kriya, but they don't really meditate very much. And so it really is a very individual thing. And I would say work with Deva Lila with it.
Okay, and Mary posted, ride the tulip bus with Brian and you get a free AY. What she's talking about is, you know, we have about 20,000 visitors for the tulips every April, May. And there's a certain one of our members drives the bus from where they park to the gardens. And I didn't know this, but he must have free copies of AY that he gives out. So that's very, very sweet.
Yeah, give away a good copy of the AY and you're guaranteed to get some good karma.
We'll tell you a very wonderful story about gifting somebody the AY. It's one of our young men who lives here. He had an uncle who was a disciple of Master. And when he was in high school, his uncle gave him a copy of the AY. But he looked at the cover and he just was somehow put off by the photo of Master on the cover for whatever reason. It wasn't his time yet. to come on the path. And so he didn't read it, went on to college. He was helping a friend while he was in college move from kind of a boarding house to another apartment. And the friend asked him to go up into the attic and get down a box of his stuff. Well, he had to move a box of books. And when he was moving the box of books, one of the books fell off the top and hit him in the head, but the cover was torn off. And so he was just curious. So he started looking at it and he started reading it and he really got into it. And then he realized it was autobiography of a yogi. And so he always laughed. He said, Master said, you don't like the cover? Okay, we'll tear off the cover. Yeah. Here it is.
Yeah, you don't get the idea? I'll hit you in the forehead with it. So, okay, friends.
Thank you so
bless
much.
you.
Now, this doesn't have to be the only time we do this.
Yes, we had, I think at one point we had up to 92 people, which I think was a very good show. I think our bandwidth was 100, so we'd have to beef it up some more anyway. But we're so grateful that you took the time to join us, and we hope you will come back and join us again.
No question.
Absolutely.
We plan on as a little calendar marker for everybody, we really want to have a in-person retreat for the centers and meditation groups. Again, it's happened way in the past. We're planning on doing it for just like a couple days, either before Inner Renewal Week next year or Spiritual Renewal Week. We still haven't quite decided yet, but everybody keep that in mind, that if you can come a couple days early, we can really dive deep into some of the challenges and issues and inspirations, share our inspirations with one another at a group retreat. So keep that in mind. And of course, we'll have another Zoom. Probably, this is June. We usually do them every other month. So probably, this is July. Sorry. Lost a little time there. Probably early September, we'll do another Zoom. So, and one last thing, if people are not on the WhatsApp group, please join. That's where you're going to get the quickest updates on things. And we're just so grateful for you guys, everybody joining, and especially Jyotish and Devi. Thank you so much. And
well, if you take just a moment and mute your speaker, Maheshri, I just wanted to say, because I know this is an issue that comes up quite often, is how to use Zoom. And Evie, I'll get with you sometime in the next week or so, and we'll see who else out there needs help with this tool. I mean, this is what I spent a good part of COVID learning how to do was
stay on with these programs.
No, I think we need to do this another time.
Well, we can't give a personal greeting to each one of you, but it's just been so wonderful to see you, and many, many dear friends and new friends, old friends, and anyway, it's just been a joy.
Sorry, I lost myself there. Anyway, thank you so much, and let's just take a moment and we'll just end with 3 ohms. How about that? We'll mute our ohms, or I'll leave mine, but everybody else stay muted. So let's just take a moment, feeling the blessings that we have received through this wonderful satsang together, feeling our gratitude for this path, for Swami, for Master, and for what we share with one another. Let's share those blessings now out into the world, and we'll just chant Om 3 times. Om. 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 Peace. Amen. Again, thank you all. Thank you, Jyotish and Devi. And everybody have a wonderful rest of your day, whether it's Sunday or Monday if you're in New Zealand. Okay, God bless everybody.